Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, please click on like and subscribe. If you've been here before, welcome back. Today I'm going to show you the basics of designing a planter or any type of angled piece of furniture that you need to figure out some angles and some inside edges on. You can do this with a piece of farmhouse furniture or anything else you want to kind of taper down a little bit. This is more designed for a planter. Now this is just scrap leftover wood that I've got so I can show you for demonstration purposes. Make sure if you're going to do this for real, you can either do a prototype in a smaller scale and then upscale it so you feel comfortable cutting the angles, or you can just go ahead and cut your boards the length you want. Now, based off the size of wood I've got here, my pieces of scrap, I want to make the inside of my planter 9 inches. So I can lay these out and get the angles that I want to. Now you can get super precise if you want and use something like or a protractor or a ruler that will measure for you. You could find the angle that's pretty close to what you want and then mark one side or the other. Do not mark both sides because the odds of you getting those angles perfectly straight on both sides, slim to none. So you can mark this one side because that's the angle you like. Go over to your miter saw and cut that one angle. So whatever angle that your miter saw is set to cut the one angle you like, cut them all at that length. I would personally level it off to an even number. So let's say if that's 4.5 degrees, make it 5 degrees, or make it 6 degrees, make it a number that's even. That way when you go to make your other angles and cuts, you can make them all the same. Because what's going to happen here is when we make this and we cut this angle in here, let's say we cut that at 5 degrees, which is what I'm going to cut mine at. When we cut that at 5 degrees, the top of our board is going to be off like that. So we're going to have to cut 5-degree angles on this, 5-degree angles at the bottom. Everywhere what we cut is going to have to be the same angle. So if you pick some weird oddball number, if you just pencil it in and cut whatever you got, like let's say with a skill saw, you're going to have to try to match that every single time. It's going to be difficult to do. So again, I've got my layout here. I want to do a 5-degree slope. So I've got my saw set to 5 degrees. I'm just going to nip the tip off of this, and that way I've got one side set to 5 degrees. So with my right side cut at 5 degrees, I want this board to be 9 inches long. I also want to back cut it this way, so I can either spin my saw around and cut it 5 degrees that way, or when I do my measurement, I can flip it over this way, and that way my saw is still cutting at the same angle it cut before. So I've literally just rotated the board around. So I'm going to measure this 9 inches. I'm back on my saw. And where my 9-inch mark is there, I want that to be the inside of my board. So I've got it lined up. I'm gonna cut that. All right, with our 5-degree back cut, we can put this in place now and straighten this out. So what we need to do next is we need to get our leg length. We don't want to get our bottom piece or bottom support in yet. We want to figure out our leg length. So the first thing I need before I do that, I'm going to push this nice and firm, and I'll make a pencil mark on both of these. And that way I know which way I'm cutting in. Now, I've left a little bit extra again. You want to leave extra on these because we're going to lose some length once we're figuring out the pattern. Once the pattern's figured out, you can cut these to the exact same length. So I've got this leg marked and this leg marked. And I drew a little upcut so I knew which way the saw was supposed to be cutting on each one. So I'm back to my saw. I've got it laid into the right angle. I'm going to cut both of these off at the same 5-degree angle. One. Since I've got this one marked going in this direction, I'm going to take it and flip it that way. And again, we're not worried about our length yet. We're just getting our tip angle. So as long as you cut the tip off, you're good. 1, 2. All right, so after our legs are cut, they're nice and square. You can take a square, line them up, and make sure you line them up so they go straight across the top. We're not too worried about our angle. We're going to take our fingers and just push our angles together. Nice square at the top on both sides. Now again, what we got to do now is figure out our bottom. How far up do we want the bottom? How tall do we want our entire planter? So since this is cut out of scrap and I'm making my planter smaller, I'm actually going to make my planter about that tall. So I want a 1-inch gap at the bottom of mine, just for breathability. So when I put it there, I'm going to just take this, I'm going to measure down 1 inch from one side or the other. Again, just like when you're measuring your tops, if you measure both sides, the odds that you have that perfectly straight are probably not very likely. So I know I like this one side of the board. So we're going to make our cut 1 inch below the board. Now remember, we're coming down at an angle here, so we need to cut the same 5-degree angle this way. So when our planer sits on the ground, it sits flush. Now since these are my legs, I'm going to put them back against themselves. I'm going to flush them at the top, and I'm going to cut both of these at the same exact time. Cutting both of these at the same time will give me the exact same length on both sides. That way I'm not messing up anything and I don't have like an 1/8 of an inch gap on one side or the other. Here are my two slopes, and again, both of them are going, I'm going to over exaggerate this, both of them are going this way because they're our legs and not our top and our bottom pieces, which are sloped inward towards a V. So I'll lay these back down like I had them. Square them back up again. Sorry, my arm's in the way. And although it looks a little crooked on the bottom, when you stand this up, those will sit flat on the ground now instead of having an offset angle. All right, I need to figure out my bottom piece of my board, which is right here. So what I want to do, I want to go ahead and put these together so you can glue them, fit them. Mine are just sitting here for demonstration purposes. Make sure these don't move. So once you get it flushed out, you don't want it to move. I measured up 1 inch on both of my legs since that's how far I want from my bottom. Take my board, lay it across here. My lines are touching on the inside. Push down and make a pencil mark to the inside edge where these two line up at. So I've got marks here and here. That'll be the top of our cuts, and our cuts will be sloping in this way. So we're going to start our pencil marks there and slope them in. Now, this is 7 1/8 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to nip the tip down here, and then I'm going to measure 7 1/8 inches in and cut my other side. So I nipped my edge off on this side. I'm going to come down from the corner. Don't come down from your middle. 7 1/8 inches. Pencil mark. Take it back to the saw. And from the saw, so there's our frame laid out. Basically what you want to do now is you need to make one more exactly like this for the back side, since this is our front, or vice versa. And then we need to make 2 sides. Now when making the sides, the leg length stays the same. What doesn't stay the same are the inserts. So the inserts, we have to take in consideration the thickness of the wood. Since there'll be a front and a back, this is 1 inch thick. So when we do this, we need to take off 1 inch for our side pieces to consider our thickness of our wood. So one's 9 inches, our side pieces would be 8 inches, and this was 7 1/8, so our bottom pieces would be 6 1/8 inches. So to make this planner, we would need 8 of these, 2 of these, 2 of these, 2 of these 1 inch shorter, 2 of these 1 inch shorter, and that will give us our outside foundation or our framework for our planner.